Hello everyone. We are going to start with our new chapter of the class 10 science one, that is chapter 3, that is chemical reactions and the equations. So, in this chapter, we are going to study about the chemical reactions, rules of writing chemical reaction, balancing a chemical equation, types of the chemical reaction, and many more. सो जैसा कि हमेशा चैप्टर के पहले कैन यू रिकॉल करके एक सेक्शन है जिसमें क्वेश्चंस पूछे जाते हैं। तो चलिए देखते हैं कि क्या क्वेश्चन यहाँ पर पूछे गए हैं। सो क्वेश्चन वन इज व्हाट आर द टाइप्स ऑफ द मॉलिक्यूल्स एंड द ऑफ एलिमेंट्स एंड कंपाउंड्स। तो यहाँ पर पूछा गया है कि डिफरेंट व्हाट आर द टाइप्स ऑफ द मॉलिक्यूल्स, मॉलिक्यूल्स के टाइप्स जो कि एलिमेंट्स और कंपाउंड के होते हैं। तो उनको क्या व्हाट आर उसके डिफरेंट टाइप्स क्या है एंड व्हाट इज मीन बाय द वैलेंसी ऑफ एन एलिमेंट। So, as we have studied about all this in the previous chapter, that is the periodic classification of the elements. So, what are the types of the molecules of the elements and compounds? So, as we know that the elements are made up of the similar kind of the atom. तो एलिमेंट का जो स्मॉलेस्ट पार्ट है, जो स्मॉलेस्ट पार्टिकल है, that we call as the atom. And of the molecule of the compound, it is called as a molecule because compounds are compounds क्या होते हैं। सो पहले एलिमेंट देख लेते हैं कि एलिमेंट क्या है। So elements are the part of that matter in which the constituent elements are made up of the single kind of the atom. And compounds are when two or more elements combine chemically in a fixed proportion, then there is the formation of the compounds. And mixture, when two or more elements combine chemically in any proportion, the mixture is formed. So as all this stuff we have studied in the previous chapter as the periodic classification of the element. And second question here we have asked that what is meant by the valency of an element. So valency is the uh, valence electrons which are present in an element in its outermost orbit, that is called as the valency of that particular element. So as we have studied about this valency and valence electrons in the previous chapter, so not spending more time on that, we again we are having the third question here. What is the requirement for writing molecular formula of the different compounds? How are the molecular formula of the compounds written? So here we are asking that what is the requirement for the molecular formula of the different compounds? मतलब यदि हमें different compounds जो है, जैसे कि हमने यहाँ पर बात की कि कंपाउंड्स आर फॉर्म देन टू और मोर एलिमेंट्स कंबाइन केमिकली इन अ फिक्स्ड प्रोपोर्शन। और जैसा कि मैंने पहले भी आपको बोला था कि सपोज वी आर टेकिंग द हियर एग्जांपल ऑफ द कंपाउंड H2O. So here hydrogen two molecules and oxygen one molecules when combined chemically, as this proportion is fixed, when we are taking the 1 gram of the hydrogen, so we are going to take the 8 gram of the oxygen. So as we can see here, the 1 and 8, the ratio, the proportion is fixed. So due to which there is a formation of this compound H2O. But when the formation of the means combining of these elements in any proportion, then there leads to the formation of the mixture. So this we have already covered in the previous chapter. So how are the molecular formula of the compounds written? That is only that molecular formula which we are writing here, as how this formula has written that it comes to be H2 and O. Why this H2 only and oxygen here one only? This is all the we are going to see in this chapter, that why this is basically the part of the valency that we are considering here for writing down the molecular formula of any compounds. So that we are also going to see in this chapter. So in earlier standards, we have seen how compounds are formed by the chemical combination of the elements. As I have already told that compounds are formed when two or more elements combine chemically in a fixed proportion. We have also learned that the driving force behind the formation of the chemical bond is to attain an electronic configuration with a complete octet. As I have already told to you in the previous chapter, as we have seen that every element tries to complete its octet or the duplet to get stable. So each and every element try to attain the electronic configuration of the noble gases, as we have seen in the previous chapter, that the group, that is the inert gases, noble gases, are having their octet complete. That means they are the completely stable. So each and every element which are present in the rest of the periodic table, excepting the noble gases, tries to complete their octet or the duplet by give and take of the electrons, or either by the sharing of the electrons. So next, that is only given the atoms attain a complete octet by giving, taking, or sharing of the electrons with each other. That is only the part due to which that leads to the formation of the ionic and the covalent compounds. So now we are going to see about the chemical reaction, as the name of the chapter only suggests that we are going to see about the chemical reactions and the equation. So chemical reaction. Some of the scientists of the 18th and the 19th century carried out the fundamental experiment on chemical reaction. They proved from their experiment that during chemical reaction, composition of the matter changes and the change remains permanent. So, as we have already studied about this part also in the lower classes, that there are the two types of the reactions, that is the physical change and the chemical change. So, physical change is that in which the part after get conversion, so the change can be reversible. So suppose here we are going to take one example of, suppose we are taking the example here of, suppose I am having the water. Then as water on cooling, suppose I am cooling down the water, will get converted into the ice, and after heating the water, after giving the heat to the water, it will get converted into the steam, right? So, as we can see here, the water which is in the liquid state, then cool, converted into the ice. Suppose if we are again heating it, if we again provide the heat to the ice, so it will again get converted into the water. And water on heating get converted into the steam, that is the gas form, gaseous state. So this all we have seen that this is a kind of the physical change. This is physical. But as it can be reversible, so as it can be the reversible change, so as we can convert from the ice to the water, then water to steam and all. So these are all the kind of the physical changes. But chemical change is the change in which the constituents are get completely changed and the change remains the permanent. Means we cannot reverse back to the particular original state of that particular thing. So here we are given identify physical and the chemical changes for the phenomena given in the table. So here we are asked to for checking that whether it is a physical kind of the change or chemical. So here we are given that transformation of ice into the water, that is a physical kind of the change that already I have explained you here. Then cooking of the food, that is a chemical change. We cannot convert back from the processed item to the raw material. Then, ripening of the fruit, milk turned into the curd, evaporation of water, digestion of food in stomach, size, reduction. So, this is the activity for you to check whether it is kind of the physical change or the chemical change. So, perform it. Next, we are going to see about what given in the further part. Note, do the following activities in a group of friends. Take help of your teacher whenever necessary. So, this is the one activity which is given. So let's see. Apparatus we have needed here the thermometer, evaporating dish, tripod stand, funnel, Bunsen burner, etc. Chemicals we need limestone powder, copper sulfate, calcium chloride, potassium chromate, zinc dust, sodium carbonate, phthalic anhydride, etc. Procedure: carry out the activities 1 to 5 as given below. Record and read and record all the temperatures in the activities 2 to 4. So now what we have to perform in the activity. Take a spoonful of the limestone powder in an evaporating dish. मतलब एक evaporating dish में limestone powder हमें लेना है. So here we have taken the limestone powder. Here heat it strongly on a high blue flame. So here we have Bunsen burner. So We have to heat it strongly at the high blue flame, add a zinc dust into the copper sulfate CuSO4 solution. So we have to add the zinc dust that is also present, which we have taken in the chemicals. We have to add it in the copper sulfate that is the CuSO4. Add potassium chromate that is K2Cr2O4, K2Cr O4 solution to the barium sulfate solution. Add a sodium carbonate Na2CO3 solution to the calcium chloride CaCl2 solution. Take phthalic anhydride in the evaporating dish. Close the end of the stem of the funnel with a cotton plug. Keep this funnel inverted on an evaporating dish. Heat the evaporating dish on a tripod stand slowly on a low flame. What did you observe in the funnel during heating? So this is the experiment which can be performed in the lab, as we have to take consider all of this stuff and the chemicals and all. So after performing that experiment, we have to see what kind of the changes, that is the physical and the chemical changes, are get observed here. Next, we are having the activity find out. Observe the table and keep the record of the physical and chemical changes that you experience in your daily life. So a physical change that takes place due to the change in the parameters such as the temperature and the pressure. So physical changes are the changes which are occurred due to the changes in the parameters such as the temperature and the pressure. So here I want to give one example, that hydrogen peroxide H2O2 remains as a, we can see it as the physical change remains at the liquid state at the room temperature. So these are all the stuffs which we are considering the parameters of the temperature and the pressure for the physical changes. Suppose uh, there is one thing, and after applying on the pressure, so it get converted into the another thing, and we can also if we can also convert it back to its original shape or the position, then that kind of the change we call as a physical change. Often a physical change is reversible, that is the only which I have told here. The composition of the matter remains the same in the physical change. For example, ice is turned into the water on heating and water is turned into the ice on cooling. That is the only example here given, which I have told you earlier. On the contrary, if the composition of the matter changes during a process, then it is called as the chemical change. When we call a particular process or the phenomena as a chemical change, some chemical reactions are taking in place in the concerned matter. A chemical reaction is a process in which some substances undergo bond breaking and are transformed into the new substances by formation of the new bond. मतलब जो ओरिजिनल जो बॉन्ड जो लिंकेज होती है सब्सटेंसेस के बीच में वो ब्रेक होती है एंड देयर इज द फॉर्मेशन एंड ऑफ द न्यू काइंड ऑफ द बॉन्ड्स इन बिटवीन द substances or the constituent molecules atoms, and that leads to the formation of the new substances. The substances taking part in the chemical reaction are called as a reactant, whereas the substances formed as a result of the chemical reaction by the formation of new bonds are called as a product. So this is the one which we have to highlight as it is important. So what it is actually that the constituents that the substances taking part in the chemical reaction are called as the reactants, whereas the substances formed as a result of a chemical reaction by formation of new bonds are called as the products. So this is, we have to remember that the constituents or the substances which are taking basically the part in the chemical reaction, that are called as the reactants, and the result which we get by after performing the chemical reaction, that are called as the products. So this we have to keep in mind. For example, formation of the carbon dioxide by the combustion of the coal in the air is a chemical reaction. In this reaction, coal, carbon and oxygen from the air are the reactants while carbon dioxide is the product. A chemical reaction is represented by writing a chemical equation. So let's write down the chemical equation. What will be that coal carbon? That means C plus O2. After reacting with the oxygen from the air, we leads to the formation of the carbon dioxide, that is the CO2. So this is the reaction which we can see here. So hello. I will not be able to give the answer to the comments as I am focusing on the teaching part. So later at last we will try to take the your doubts and all. So now let's get concentrate again on the section which we are looking in the chapter. So this is the reaction which we can see that C plus O2 gives the CO2. That means the carbon coal when react with the oxygen, there leads to the formation of the carbon dioxide, the reaction which we have seen here. So chemical equation. Let us first look at the chemical reaction in the activity 2. A colorless solution of the zinc sulfate ZnCO4, ZnSO4 is formed on oxidation of the zinc dust to the blue solution of the copper sulfate CuSO4. This chemical reaction can be written as when aqueous solution of the copper sulfate plus zinc dust gives the aqueous solution of the zinc sulfate plus copper. This simple way of representing a chemical reaction is called as the word reaction. The reaction when which is expressed in the forms in terms of the word that is called as the word equation. A word equation can be written in the further condensed form by using the chemical formula that is CuSO4 plus Zn gives the ZnSO4 plus Cu. So this is only the reaction which we have written here. This is in the word equation form and this is in the chemical equation form. So let's see forward. The representation of a chemical reaction in a condensed form using the chemical formula is called as a chemical equation. In the above equation, copper sulfate CuSO4 and the zinc dust Zn are the reactants. They react with each other to form the copper particle Cu and the solution of the colorless zinc sulfate ZnSO4 as the products having the totally different properties. So that is the part तो वो जो हमने पहले देखा यहाँ पर कि डिस्कस कर रहे थे कि उन्होंने जो बोला था कि जैसा कि मैंने आपको बोला कि ये इंपॉर्टेंट इज द सब्सटेंसेस टेकिंग पार्ट इन द केमिकल रिएक्शन आर कॉल्ड रिएक्टेंट वेयर एज द सब्सटेंसेस फॉर्म्ड एज द रिजल्ट ऑफ द केमिकल रिएक्शन बाय फॉर्मेशन ऑफ द न्यू बॉन्ड्स आर कॉल्ड एज अ प्रोडक्ट तो ये जो बात यहाँ पर बोली गई है दैट इज ओनली द पार्ट दे आर टेलिंग हियर दैट व्हेन वी आर टेकिंग if we are considering the physical properties or the chemical properties of the left hand side part of the chemical reaction, that is we are considering this as the reactant, these are the reactant and these are the product. So if we take the consideration of the physical and the chemical properties of this reactant part, they are having the completely different properties. And when we take consider these properties of the products which are formed after the formation of the chemical reaction, so the properties and the constituents are totally different of the product. So that is the only case which we have seen here. So writing a chemical equation, let us now see the conventions followed while writing a chemical equation. तो chemical equation जो हम लिखते हैं, so what are the conventions which we have to follow or keep in mind for writing down the chemical equation that we are going to see here. Let us now see the conventions followed while writing a chemical equation. In a chemical equation, the reactants are written on the left hand side. जैसा कि मैंने बोला कि जो reactant है वो left hand side पे लिखे जाएंगे and while the products are on the right hand side. Product जो है वो right hand side पर लिखे जाएंगे. This arrow indicates the direction of the reaction. ये जो arrow है वो direction represent करता है reaction की. If the reactants or the products are two or more, they are linked with a plus between them. For example, in the equation, plus is drawn between the reactants USO4 and Zn. Similarly, a plus is drawn on the product side. ये जो प्लस है कितनी मतलब यदि एक से ज्यादा अगर रिएक्टेंट्स अगर पार्ट हो रहे होंगे रिएक्शन में दे आर टेकिंग द पार्ट एज इन द केमिकल रिएक्शन और मोर देन वन प्रोडक्ट इज फॉर्मिंग एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ द केमिकल रिएक्शन सो वी use the plus sign for showing or representation. To make the chemical equation more informative, the physical states of the reactants are indicated in the equation. Their gaseous, liquid, and the solid states are indicated by writing the letters G, L, and S. So, if the reactants or the constituent products formed, so if they are as the gaseous, liquid, and solid, so we can write down at downside about the state of that particular reactant or the product in this. Moreover, if the product is gaseous instead of the G, it can be indicated by the arrow pointing upwards. If the product is insoluble in the form of the precipitate, then the instead of indicated by an arrow pointing to the downwards. मतलब कि अगर ऐसा प्रोडक्ट मिल रहा है कि जो गैसियस है तो वी कैन रिप्रेजेंट इट विद द अपवर्ड एरो और यदि देर इज द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ द प्रेसिपिटेट सो वी कैन शो इट विद द हेल्प ऑफ द डाउनवर्ड एरो. When reactants and the products are in the form of the solution in the water, they are said to be the present in the aqueous state solution. This state is indicated by putting the letters aqueous अगर जो प्रोडक्ट मिलता है वो एक्वियस स्टेट में है, सो वी जनरली राइट डाउन द AQ as we can see here. Thus, the equation 2 is rewritten as the equation that CuSO4 aqueous solution zinc dust that is in the solid form, ZnSO4 that is the formation is in the aqueous state, and copper that is the solid, which we get here. So till now, if you are having any doubt, then you can also comment in the live chat. All your doubts will be answered properly. So don't worry about that. Similarly, the fact that when heat is to be given from the outside to bring about the reaction, it is indicated by the sign delta. और अगर रिएक्शन में हमें हीट प्रोवाइड करनी होगी, so as we have seen above that we require the heat as we are using the Bunsen burner here. So if we are going to provide the heat to the particular reaction, so we are denoting it with the delta, that is the sign above the arrow. Written above the arrow indicates the direction of the reaction. For example, the reaction in which slaked lime is formed on heating limestone is written as, means we are taking the calcium carbonate, that is CaCO3 solid form, providing heat. We are getting formation of the calcium oxide and carbon dioxide gas is released. Similarly, the fact that heat is released during the reaction between the aqueous solution of the copper sulfate and zinc dust is indicated as follows: CuSO4 aqueous ZnS, ZnSO4 aqueous CuS heat. It is necessary to fulfill certain conditions like specific temperature, pressure, catalyst, etc. to bring about some reaction. These conditions are indicated below or above the arrow indicating the direction of the reaction. For example, the reaction of a vegetable oil indicates place. Vegetable oil takes place at the temperature of the 60 degrees Celsius with hydrogen gas in presence of the nickel catalyst and is written as vegetable oil, which is in the liquid form, hydrogen that is the gaseous state. We are providing the heat of the at 60 degrees Celsius nickel and the reaction is taking place at in the presence of the nickel catalyst. We are getting the product as a formation of the vanaspati ghee. Special information of the names of the reactants products are written below their formula. For example, copper on reaction with concentrated nitric acid gives a reddish color poisonous nitrogen dioxide gas. When copper reacts with the HNO3 nitric acid, we get formation of the copper, that is the formation of the copper nitrate, that is CuNO3 twice. And we get here the nitrogen dioxide as a gas and two molecules of the water, 2H2O. However, on reaction with the dilute nitric acid, these are all the reactions which we are looking are also important because each and every reaction we have to understand that how all the reaction are written, then how the temperature is written, how the catalyst are written, liquid state, gaseous state, and solid state, how they are written in the chemical reaction. These are all which we have to consider. So these are the two also important reactions that with the concentrated nitric acid and with the dilute nitric acid. So when copper is reacted with the dilute nitric acid, we get the nitrate, that is CuNO3 twice, then nitrogen oxide. When reacted with the concentrated, we get nitrogen dioxide, that is the gives a reddish colored poisonous. Reddish colored poison, that is the color of the nitrogen dioxide and nitrogen oxide, nitric oxide, which we are getting here when they react with the dilute HNO3. And there is the formation of the 4H2O molecules as the product when reacted with dilute and 2H2O molecules water when reacted with the concentrated nitric acid. Again, we are having one experiment which you should have to perform in your lab as per the lab experiments and all. But we are going to see what reaction which we are getting here. AgNO3, that is silver nitrate. When reacts with the sodium chloride, we get the precipitate of the white color, that is AgCl. As we have already seen, that precipitate is shown by the downward arrow, and NaNO3, that is the sodium nitrate. So this is basically a reaction which has taken place here for denoting and showing off all. But we have you can perform this experiment in your school lab. Do you know silver nitrate is used in the voters ink? Silver nitrate जो होता है वो वोटर इंक पे यूज किया जाता है. That this is the best example as there is a silver nitrate which we can see that it is useful. As we can see that the voters ink when we are going to give the vote. So voters जो ink voter ink जो हमारे नेल पे लगाई जाती है वोट देने के बाद. So that is not anything else. That is a silver nitrate only. So later we will be going to see about the balancing a chemical equation in the further part. So till now, if you are having any doubt, then you can ask in the comment box and also in the live chat also. So if you are having any kind of the doubt regarding the previous chapters also and this chapter also till now, what uh, I have explained till now that if you are having any kind of the doubt, then you can also comment and chat also message in the chat. So we will be covering all of the chapters in the live part only. So अगर आपका कोई भी डाउट होगा तो आप चैट बॉक्स में पूछ सकते हैं, कमेंट कर सकते हैं. And one more thing, try to get your doubt solved because एक सिंगल डाउट मतलब जैसा कि हमने देखा कि पीरियोडिक ग्रेविटेशन था फिर पीरियोडिक क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ एलिमेंट्स था. दैट मीन्स इफ वी आर सी अगर हम देखें तो हर एक चैप्टर एक दूसरे के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट है. इफ वी आर नॉट गेटिंग concepts cleared as in the previous chapter, then we will face the issue in the further chapters also. So try to get complete your get your doubts get solved properly. So now we will get